is Excalibur Heavy Battlecruiser, and today we're going to show you how to beat Dweller in Nova Drift. Let's get started. Now, since Dweller also shows up in Wave 60, we can just get 26 upgrade points and pick up a build. Here, we're once again going for the standard baseline build that we have done for several of the other bosses. It's your classic case of charge shot flak. Now, this build is pretty solid, so it might skew your results. But he's still not that dangerous, all things considered. The main things to watch out for is the number of minions he can spawn, which is why it's very important to have AoE and blast radius. This thing will single-handedly make the boss fight a lot easier. Alright, now that we have the build set up, we can call them in. And I don't mean you, Scion. We've fought you before. There we go. Obviously, don't crash into that asteroid. It hurts a catastrophic amount. And you also don't want to crash into the main boss himself, because that also hurts pretty badly. The first thing you want to do is take care of this big minion. They deal a lot of damage to him. He lost like 15% of his HP right then and there. Now you want to make sure you take out as many of his escort as possible, because the more of his escorts you take down, the more you deal damage to him as well. So it's really the optimal play. Instead of just aiming at him and still having a whole bunch of his minions firing bullets and all sorts of nasty shit at you, you can do both by aiming at his minions. Alright, he's now going to send these explodey boys at you. And do keep your distance from them. They hurt pretty heftily. Now let's wait for the big crabs to show up. Taking two of them out at once is more than enough to kill the main guy himself. Now this build did have pretty strong AoE capabilities, so let's try this with a build that doesn't have that luxury. This is pretty much the build. Let's go. Just to reinforce the theory that you should not crash into this big-ass asteroid. Alright, let's go for the big crab. This big minion crab. And yeah, he loses 15% of his HP. And we shall use the strategy of aiming at his minions. Okay, let's get out of the way. Let's do that once again. These attacks do have some pretty decent telegraphing, so you can predict when they're going to fire, and move out of the way accordingly. Now with some builds, it may be impractical to try to take down all of them. What you should do is just try to destroy the ones that are circling towards you. These ones. And they'll also go down towards you and try to squeeze you, box you in, which is why you should move out of the way and screen wrap. Alright, let's now focus fire on the big guys. There we go. Lost a lot of his HP again. That works once more. If we just aimed at the main guy himself, it's gonna take a lot of time to destroy him, because he has a lot of damage resistance. Okay, this seems to have a different firing technique. These ones leave gaps, but they fire all at once, so in some ways it's trickier and in other ways it's not. Okay, we can now go to the top of the screen and then try to cull their numbers as much as possible. And there we have it! We defeated Dweller in one of the worst case scenarios of the game. A build that doesn't have much AoE. Now yes, I did take advantage of my build having some range, but let's be real, most close range builds in this game have some pretty decent AoE. Last up, we're going to try this with a Leviathan build. Now since taking him out with weapons is pretty easy, let's try this with the Meta Leviathan build, where we don't have a weapon. Let's take up some of the basics. Stabilization tree, of course, absorption, obviously bravado, regeneration, all of these things. Rapid reconstruction, agility, strafe. Adaptive armor is also a must, as is improved thrusters, rebuke, core shielding, incandescence, efficiency as well. Obviously deadly wake. Reroll these and get channeling. There's hidden power. And let's get Blink. Let's summon him. Wrong boss. Wrong boss times 2. Wrong boss times 3. Wrong boss times 4. Wow, that's the 5th time Scion showed up. Now we have Dweller. Now with this, you want to be careful with how much physical contact you make, because he dealt a lot of damage to me. You also want to be wary about these trails. Move before he fires. You have to predict things. Let's end this. So although these fights can be pretty short if you do use the correct techniques, he's still pretty dangerous to Leviathan builds because if you get tangled up for too long, he will win the HP war. Or at least leave you in a very vulnerable position, allowing other enemies to finish you off. So there you have it, a guide on how to fight Dweller. He requires your build to have some decent AoE capabilities. But even if you don't, you can still try to focus fire on his minions, especially those warrior crabs that are pretty big but not quite as big as the main man himself. If you take them out, he'll take lots of damage, and you can also delete his other minions to both reduce the number of projectiles on screen and to damage the main boss. Going for him directly is not the play here. With that being said, my name is Excalibur Heavy Battlecruiser, and as always, may the forks be with you all.